What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Tony's Corner, a Great Girth segment. I'm your host, Tony, and dude, I have been dying for an entire year to do this review. In fact, we are almost, not quite, but we're getting close to being about damn near a year of this, of Tony's Corner. So that's how long I've been waiting for this. No, for real though. So the movie that we're reviewing is VHS Halloween. I was going to try to get this out to you guys as soon as I got done watching it, but I actually had to watch it in two sittings. VHS is one of those franchises where there's some segments that are really, really gross and I have to kind of like fast forward through some of it, or it's really good and I miss some of it and I just got to go back, And there's times where some stuff in the franchise does grow on you too, there's some things that maybe I found like, oh, that's not for me. I went back and realized, okay, suck and take, it's not that bad. And that's what I had to do. But I will say this, okay? We'll go further into it, but here's a hill that I'm willing to die on right now. This is the best VHS to date. I say that typically every time one of these comes out until I watch it a second and third time. And dude, I'm going to just be honest with you right now. My opinion has not changed. It has been the same. So I actually had notes set aside for this because there was a lot I wanted to talk about. And guess what? The notes are gone. So now we're going to be free balling it. But what is VHS? For those of you that don't know. So VHS is essentially anthology horror. And it's a series of movies. This is now the 8th one, I believe. So here's the thing. Just full disclosure. I got hooked onto VHS a couple of years ago, right when VHS 94 came out. That's when I got hooked onto it because I had seen, I had seen things for the first three. Mind you, they came out when I was younger, like in high school, middle school, I believe, or somewhere around there. Yeah, they were somewhere around that time, but I had never actually watched them. And so then I sat down, I watched the first three, fell in love. And then I went and got Shudder and made sure to watch every single one that's come out ever since. So every year, dude, I get excited for one of these. I love these movies. And this is a person that does have issues with some of them, especially some of the content or like the themes, but I still like these movies, dude. So I'm glad to be able to talk about this with you guys. That being said, because I don't have my notes, please forgive me. I will not be naming directors or actors for that reason. But let's open up with the frame narrative. As you know, VHS has a frame narrative in every single film. Well, all except VHS 99, which I think we can all agree is not the best one, but it's still cool. However, the narrative is important. I gotta be honest with you about this one, though. As much as I love this movie, and I do, again, feel that this is probably the best VHS to date, it's not the most amazing narrative. I still like it, don't get me wrong. So the narrative is Diet Phantasma. Now, without spoiling too much, because I really don't want to spoil this at all for you guys, Diet Phantasma is basically the wraparound narrative where you got a group, a corporation, if you will, that is trying to get out their newest brand of soda. And so they're trying to test, a bunch of different people to see how they feel about it. But as soon as they take a sip, dude, literal stomach ache from hell. I gotta say this, some of the best kill scenes and some of the most grotesque shit comes from this segment. This narrative is probably one of the bloodiest in my opinion. And it's probably the bloodiest of the entire film. Well, until we get to another one. But it's pretty close. It's neck and neck with another segment I'm about to talk about. I would say that this one is probably, close to being the bloodiest one, dude. Bloodiest I've seen. That is why it's redeemed. Because I'm not going to lie to you guys, the narrative, the point of it doesn't really sit with me. If anything, it kind of feels like a nod to Halloween Season of the Witch. Halloween 3, the one that everyone loves to hate. That's what it feels like, realistically. However, I do like the special effects. I love the practical effects, which is mostly what VHS is. It's almost always practical. And dude, they do great with the gore. Like I said, some of the deaths in this are awesome. This segment alone has the best deaths, dude. Or it has some of the most, in my opinion, mystery that leads to it. It's almost impending doom. And then you're like, I know it's coming. And then bam, dude, it hits you and you don't see it coming. It's balls to the wall, blood, guts, ass everywhere. So that's the main segment. Again, I don't want to spoil too much of it. And throughout the film, the test subjects get ramped up more and more. We go from one person to one girl, one guy to a bunch of people, a bunch of kids. Yes, I said kids. We'll get to that in a minute. But that is the wraparound narrative. Diet Phantasma. The idea is they need to get this soda out on the shelves before Halloween. So like I said, it's got that Halloween 3 Season of the Witch nod to it. But that's what this movie has in general. This movie is so important because it really is like a love letter to my childhood, especially growing up in the 2000s, man. I always bring up my age because it's important for what these movies represent. So here's a good example. VHS Halloween is very in line with a Trick or Treat if it met 7, right? Basically, that's what this movie was to me. I watched it and I thought, okay, immediately I'm reminded of films from my early 2000s days. Trick or Treat is one of them. It really is homage to it, dude. It's amazing. Now coming into the first actual segment. Coochie Coochie Coo. So this one is, I'm not gonna lie to you, very stressful to watch. It was scary. Most of these segments don't ever scare me, dude. I just like the unique stories, and this one is unique, even though I don't give a shit about the theme. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, this one is filled with preachy themes, but I do not care about those. So I'm not really gonna dive too much into them just because I don't care about being lectured. However, I will say this. The vehicle in which they use their preachiness is effective and unique. I like that. So Coochie Coochie Coo is a story about two teenage girls that are off to college, and they know that their friendship is about to be ripped apart. So what they end up doing is they decide to have one last hurrah and go trick-or-treating, right? Out of the blue, a house shows up that really shouldn't just show up out of the blue. And one of them, particularly the leader, she is the dumb one. She wants to go and see what's going on in the house. When they get to the house, no one answers the door. But then as they're leaving, a hand comes out, just like you've seen in the trailer. Hand comes out, trying to lure them in with candy. As soon as they step in, they kind of realize they're pretty much trapped and they're fucked. Now, what I should have told you is that along the way, they were being told to watch out for the mommy, which is an urban legend-ish creature that supposedly takes people and makes them her baby. This theme could be overbearing motherhood or whatever, right? Like I said, we're not going to dive too much into that bullshit. That being said, they're warned about this creature, this urban legend, and they actually fall right into its trap. And along the way, they find victims that belong to the creature. Victims that act like children. And a motherly creature that stalks this home with 6 tentacle-like nipples and just... I'm not going to spoil any more of it for you, but I will say this, dude. This one is probably the most effective one in terms of haunt. Like, this one truly was very unnerving and uncomfortable to watch. And what I like about it is that it just gets worse and worse, dude. There is no room to breathe. There is no moment of clarity where you're like, oh, thank God, hope. No, it just escalates and gets fucking worse and worse and worse. That is why I like it. It's super effective, insanely scary. This one is actually, it was the one that I was watching like, God damn, I regret watching this in the dark, because a lot of this takes place in the dark. And dude, the whole like nightmarish house that they're running through is just fucked up beyond belief. That said, it's the scariest segment for sure. It is effective because it utilizes a dark home that you can somehow see in, right? And I will say this too, some of what you see in this is so fucking gnarly and disgusting that it sticks with you. You're like, oh, it's really, really gross. And you can tell that the theme is like, suffocation of an overbearing mother and blah, blah, blah. Great segment. I thought definitely a standout segment, a great way to start off a film like this. The second segment, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. It is in Spanish. We're going to be taking a trip across the globe. So this segment is kind of told in not two parts, but it's done in a weird fashion. So the story is you got a kid who was being led by some police and detectives that want to know what happened at a crime scene where he was involved in a massacre. Now, he tells them his story, which is they found a home that belonged to apparently a psychic of some sort, and they went into a room where there is Latin verbiage on the wall that's basically translated to as above, so below. Which, dude, craziness right away once you hear that. With that being said, the cops, the coronary, all the people that are there that don't believe this kid, have him run through the steps of what happened. And you get to see what happened and how he reads these words 3 times in a row. And then there's a phone in the room that rings by itself. Somebody picks it up and we get to see exactly what happened. And then we get to see what happens again in real time. Dude, it's super effective. Like, people's eyeballs are being pulled out like ripe grapes, dude. And you get to watch it. That's the fucked up part. It's so intimate and in your face that you get to see each person getting tortured, essentially, dude. That part was also unnerving and really hard to watch. Great segment. Thank God for subtitles, dude. This is a Mexican American speaking. That's why I chose not to even try to pronounce the name of that segment. But dude, it is good. And I will say it is straight horror. Of all the stories in this film, it is straight horror. I'm talking, if you're a Mexican like I am, and your grandma ever told you about the weeping woman, this is very on par with that kind of urban legend. And it's creepy, dude. Not saying that it's about a witch, but you get what I mean. If you're a Mexican dude and you've watched this segment, it very much hits home if you grew up in a somewhat Mexican household. Now, the next segment, I gotta be honest, is probably the best segment, period, dude. This segment is where I'm like, dude, this is the best VHS. All these segments are great. Well, except for one that I don't really care for, but it's still good. However, this one, dude, oh my God, this one stands out. This is the one that made me realize, like, yeah, dude, this is the best VHS. And it's because, again, it's a love letter to the slashers of the 2000s, dude. It feels so fucking oddly familiar. It is called Fun Size. Again, the theme in this one is overindulgence, being greedy. So you got a bunch of kids that, I shouldn't say kids, they're like, these look like 20-year-olds. They're pissed that they went to a party where there was no candy, so they go to a house that has the infamous, please take one candy. Dude, literally like Willy Wonka's nightmare, dude. One of them decides, fuck the rules, just like we all have at one point, right? Reaches in, takes the candy out, and you know that, remember that old bull with the hand that would go like that and get you? It would actually work. It's effective every time. That's what happens to this gentleman. And bro, he gets sucked in. Again, we are in Willy Wonka's butthole. This is a nightmare unlike any other, dude. These kids all end up getting sucked in by this fucking bull because of their greediness. They end up in a factory that is run by basically candy-esque sized villains that are disproportionate. One of which is named Fun Size, and he walks around and says, Fun Size! And these entities are paranormal, dude. Or supernatural, I should say. Like, they're not human. What are they doing? Well, basically, they're taking these kids that want to steal from their candy bowl and not follow the rules, like a bunch of assholes, and they put them on conveyor belts, and they basically convert their bodies into chocolatey, delicious, caramel, nougaty nuts and brains and penises. Not joking, dude. That's exactly what happens. Now, before I go too into that, I think that while this one is gory, it's effective in how scary it is, too. Again, this one fucks with you, and I love like the childish carnival music that's played all throughout it. I love the scenes of being chased all over and Fun Size and his little disproportionate buddies always showing up. It is an absolute gore fest, but it's also, it just feels so reminiscent. Like I said, if you've watched Trick or Treat, if you've watched Dawn of the Dead, a lot of those early 2000s films that were in some cases remakes that ended up being amazing, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when you watch this segment. This segment, man, just says it all. This one, like, realistically, dude, I think that this segment is kind of like the main eventer. This should have been the main segment. Now, the main segment is good, but Fun Size, dude, oh my God, that's my personal favorite segment, dude, of all of these movies. Fun Size was awesome. It was funny, even though it shouldn't have been. It was twisted. It was weird. And there were some kick-ass death scenes. And then the ending to the segment is just fucking phenomenal, dude. It's amazing. It just like the first segment, it gets worse and worse and worse. All right, fourth segment. Because this one has 5. The fourth segment, I had an issue with. I'm not going to lie. This is because I'm a parent. Full disclosure, if you haven't quite figured this out, I have a really, really hard time with kids and teenagers, like actual kids and teenagers being murdered on screen or tortured and mutilated. I can't watch that stuff. I'm a parent. It's too much for me. Like, I get it. How dare I have that compass, right? Whatever. If that's your thing, I don't care. It's not mine. I'm going to be honest, though, dude. This segment was very tame. For what it could have been, they were smart in how they handled it. So I respected it. And the story was good. Very much like, it's like a satire, really, of like those old school milk cartons of Have You Seen Me? With kids missing. And the story, it's very Videodrome, dude. This is as meta gets. It is a found footage of a found footage. Basically, you got these gentlemen, or not gentlemen, sorry. It's a trio of employees that run a store where basically they're able to take videos of kids. That way, if something happens, like they go missing, which ends up being the case. One of the employees is the child abductor. All I'm going to say is this, dude. It has a fucked up ending. The twist is so messed up, dude. This is, again, another story that just doesn't have any hope to it. There are some things in it that I really wish they would have done away with that they did not need to do. But again, with what they did, they were smart in the way they handled it. I can respect that, dude. I like the way they handled it. It's so hard for me to watch certain things, dude. And even some of what they were doing was pushing it for me. And hey, that's just the family man in me, dude. Don't take it out on me just because I don't have that same level as you do. I don't like that stuff. But the story was great. And the town, it felt like a town on the verge of losing its touch of community. Their kids are being stolen in front of them left and right. And when you find out who the killer is, oh, it's just a gut punch. And when you find out who gets blamed for everything, oh, it's just the absolute fucking worst. It's a sad story, dude, but it is effective. It's shot well too, and like I actually like the acting in that too. This is a weird one because this whole movie, dude, is full of good acting for being a movie full of bad actors, bad characters, bad writing. Like, that's what makes VHS stick out, is how horrible it's supposed to be that it's so gritty and good. Now, it's my least favorite segment for a lot of reasons, and as much as the story's good, it just feels so out of place for a VHS segment. I guess that's the best way to put it. Now, the final segment, and this one's also one that has some stuff in it that I really wish they wouldn't have done, but they were smart in how they handled it too. So this one, I think this one hits home if you're, again, someone that grew up in the early 2000s, or fuck it, maybe you're someone that went to haunted houses during this time of the year, which was me. That was a family thing that we did. We went to haunted houses. We went to neighbors that made haunted houses in their front lawn. That's what this is. So here you got a father-son duo. The son is turning 14 or 13, I believe, and he is pretty much over doing anything with his dad. He's a bitter teen that wants nothing to do with his father, which I think we all know that story at some point in our lives. And the dad is trying to do everything he can to salvage that, right? And that's a good thing. Like, every dad wants to do that. Every person should want to salvage their relationship with their father, right? Or their son, vice versa. And he finds a way to convince his son, like, son, please, one more Halloween. One more grand finale. I want to go big. Basically, what he does is he goes to Five Below. No, I'm just kidding. But he gets Etsy-style Halloween decorations and makes a haunted house on his lawn. But this year, it's about to fucking change. He goes to an antique store with his friend, or with his son, sorry. Keep in mind, dude, I just watched this movie for the 4th time, so that's why I'm like power rushing through it for you guys. And my reviews aren't usually this long, dude. I had a lot of fun with this movie. Anyway, him and his son, they go into this antique store that's supposed to belong to, like, a person who's like a psychic or a paranormal, some sort of Jezebel. I'm just kidding. But that being said, the dad is smart enough to be dumb and steal a goofy fucking looking Halloween party record from the back room that ends up opening the gates of hell. So, again, I don't want to spoil too much, but he gets his son to give him that last hoorah. They open up their haunted house for the night. Bitter neighbors that hate this fucking guy that still want to show up and just clown on him, end up showing up, and what do you know? This guy opens the gates of hell by accident, and shit starts actually happening. We go from a crypt to a dungeon to a witch's cottage. And dude, I actually like how they do each one. It's super scary, but it's super fucking comical each time we go into a different room. It feels like a real haunted house, basically, with your worst nightmare, dude. Something shitty happening. And like, I like the kills in this too. And I'm gonna be honest, for a segment that's very like slasher, it's still very family and wholesome feeling. It feels like a family that is literally forced into their worst fucking nightmare. And it ends on a pretty positive note, sorta, because some shit happens. Remember, this man just let the gates of hell onto Earth, dude. I'm not going to go any further with what happens there, other than ghosts come to life and start eating people, fucking executioners walking around with, like, axes and shit. Like, dude, this segment's weird because of the fact that it literally feels like what it should have been a family segment, but they had to amp it up because this is VHS. But we also got to kind of chill out because we got kids involved. Just kidding, we're going to kill some of them. That's where I get into this. Again, I don't like seeing kids get hurt on screen. There are some things in this that we could have done without, but I will be honest about this. I appreciate the way they handled it. I won't complain so much because of the fact that if a movie can go out of its way to be unique and not try to insult the audience, which is, in my case, insulting when they show a kid getting murdered, it's very, to me, it's smart when they don't show it to you and it's like left up to you to figure out what happened. That's more effective, in my opinion. That's more dangerous to the innocent mind. For me, seeing it fucks me up more, but I think it's smarter to handle it that way. Realistically, I think we only see like 3 or 4 kids get killed on screen. And even then, it's not like we fucking get to love it and be with it like some of these other fucking murder scenes like this, dude. It's not like that at all. It's very quick, visceral, it's done. But there's some, I'll stop bitching because I don't want to like turn you guys off on it. Even as a dad that loves horror films, I say watch it, dude. This is one of those movies that, again, right in the fucking beginning of this video, I wanted you guys to know that I stand on this hill. This is the best VHS to date. I am going to go buy it as soon as I'm done with this. Well, as soon as it's ready for me to fucking order, dude. God only knows when that will be ready. However, if you're like me, you probably own the first 7 on Blu-ray. I'm going to do it. Fuck it. Where do we rate VHS Halloween? It is obviously going to go down in history as legendary, which is the highest ranking you can get on my show. That being said, I do have a VHS tier list that is coming after this. So thank you guys for your patience. I really just wanted to watch all these movies first, including VHS Halloween, before I just jumped right into that tier list. There's nothing worse than like reviewing a movie because a sequel is coming out. Then you're like, well, fuck. Eventually I'm going to have to do that too. And it just feels so out of place. It's better to just do it all at once. But thank you guys for watching. I've actually been inspired to go review every single VHS film. Maybe my opinion will change, but for right now, VHS Halloween is my personal favorite, and it is the best in the franchise, period, dude. If you grew up in the 90s and 2000s, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. Easily a 4.5-star film in terms of the horror rating, all right? Thank you guys for watching. Please like this video. Don't forget to subscribe. If you want to see more political shit, go to the Great Girth Podcast. If you want to stay the fuck away from it, stay here with me on Tony's Corner. I am Tony. And remember, folks, to always stay rad.